Hello, my beautiful friends. I'm your host, Leah Rowling.
And I'm Carrie Kenzie. Welcome to Shift Happens. Discover the leader within. This podcast is designed to disrupt the way you live, lead, and love. At Shift, we challenge traditional narratives and believe that inner wisdom is the key to every decision.
Are you ready to explore a new paradigm of both living and leading? We'll dive deep into our innate strengths as women: compassion, curiosity, intuition, grace, vulnerability, and love. The shift, it's about to get real. Rediscover the power within and transform your life. Stay tuned. It all starts now. Hello, beautiful friends. Welcome back. Welcome to Shift Happens with Carrie Kenzie and Leah Rowling. And it's just me today, friends. It's just me. There will be times where we'll come together, and there will be times where you'll hear from one of us individually. And of course, we've got some amazing guests and influencers and industry experts lined up to bring even more depth to the conversations that we get to have here. So let's dive into today's topic, because today we're tackling a topic that's hitting home for so many of us. So many of my clients that I work with are navigating this, and it is that of accountability, or more accurately, perhaps the lack of it. Whether it's ownership or buy-in or responsibility or drive, it seems like everywhere we turn, we're bumping into people who just aren't showing up. Some will say it's laziness. Others blame it on the millennials, the economy, politics, or even like the aftershocks of COVID. But here's the truth, my friends. Regardless of what label we slap on it, the solution to how other people show up or don't is not yours. Let me say that again. The solution to other people's lack of accountability, motivation, you name it, is not yours to fix. Now, how you handle yourself in response to that, now, that, my friend, is absolutely yours. We can't make people care. We can't make people think differently. We can't make people feel differently than they do. Trust me. I've tried, and I bet you have too. And spoiler alert, it doesn't work. People have agency. They have autonomy to think, feel, and show up however they choose. Yet, we pour so much of our energy into trying to change that. And all of that energy that we pour into trying to change that leaves us frustrated and exhausted. And honestly, it makes us feel like leadership is an uphill battle. But here's the best part. You ready? We've been doing it wrong. The real work isn't about changing how other people show up. It's about changing how we show up in response. That's where our power lies. And that's what we are diving into today. So a couple of things that I want to point out. First, this lack, like whatever we're going to call it, lack of accountability, ownership, drive, has always existed. It's always existed. But the key difference is that in the past, we knew how to manage it better because we understood some of the primary motivators driving people. That's first, okay? Back then, it was more straightforward. People wanted money. People wanted job advancement. People wanted success and achievement, right? And we knew that if we dangled those carrots, people would probably push themselves. And for some of us, those motivators have changed, okay? Now people, right, according to research, according to the Gallup polls, according to the science, people want purpose over pay. Now, don't misunderstand. It's not that they don't want to get paid. They just want purpose okay? They crave work that has meaning, that aligns with their values, that makes them feel fulfilled. They want to be coached, not bossed around. They prioritize life satisfaction over job satisfaction and life fulfillment over job advancement. And if we don't recognize and adapt to these motivators, we lose the ability to lead effectively. And I get it, it's hard. It's challenging when people fight against accountability. Okay? It's hard when people resist wanting to reach the potential that you see in them. And if you're listening to this show, it's because you believe in the potential of others. You want people to succeed, right? You know that when your team is successful, not only do they bring better results into the company, but they also create opportunity to earn more and feel better about themselves and the work that they're doing. So what's very interesting about this is, as a director of sales, this was way back when, about 10, probably 15 now years ago. Oh my goodness, I'm trying to do the math here. But I was a director of sales for about 10 years. And it always baffled me why some team members just couldn't hit the numbers, whether it was phone calls made or meetings booked or sales closed. They had the skills, they had the resources, they had the opportunities, but they weren't motivated. And we can sit here and blame this on changing times, right? Remote work or even generational differences. But if we're being honest, the issue has always existed. What's changed is what I just said. People have changed a little bit. Their motivators have changed. But you know what I think has changed even more than that? Is our growing tolerance for poor results. There's more leniency. There's more concessions being made. Remote work has blurred accountability. There's fewer management layers. That means way less oversight. And the pressure to lower the standards of excellence to accommodate these shifting workplace norms, we're left with a culture that's settling for less. We allow people to come in when they want, leave when they want. We allow people to leave for birthday parties. When 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we would not have been so lenient. And we call it grace and we slap compassion on it. But the reality is, truly, is that we've just become more tolerant of poor results. And here's the part that I really, really, really want to drive home today. Too many leaders are failing to hold their teams accountable because they're uncomfortable addressing it. They avoid tough conversations because they don't want to be seen as mean. They equate accountability with being harsh or unkind or rude or too stern or too bold or too direct. But here's the reality, my friends. When you avoid accountability, you're not leading. You're simply managing a team of underperformers. And I know this sounds mean, right? But I'm challenging you because I want us all to step up into our potential. Because when we're not challenging people to step into it, that, my friends, is a disservice to them. It is a disservice to the company, to the mission that you work for, that you found, that you own. And it's a disservice to yourself as a leader. I want you to think about it. When someone says yes to a job, okay, they're agreeing to the compensation and they're agreeing to the responsibilities that come with it. They understand the expectations. But when you, as a leader, point out that they're not meeting those expectations, right? When you say they're not fulfilling the results that they agreed to, they lose their mind, right? They become defensive. They do what I call jading, right? They justify, explain, defend, and in that moment, they lose sight of the fact that they have fallen short of an agreement that they made. Maybe it's because in no other business were they being held accountable. because we all have just lost that ability to be courageous enough to hold people accountable to their own potential. And we've just tolerated this for too long. And let me be clear, this isn't about being harsh or unreasonable. It's about fairness and integrity. Holding someone accountable to the standards that they agreed to is not unkind. In fact, it's a form of respect. You're respecting their potential, you're respecting their capabilities and their role. When we shy away from accountability because we don't want to appear to be mean, we're actually doing more harm than good. We're allowing people to underperform, which keeps them and your business stuck. The best leaders know this. The work isn't in trying to show and to change how others show up. It's about changing how we show up in response. It's about having, as I mentioned, the courage to hold people to the agreements that they made, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable, because it's easy to have easy conversations. It's a little bit more challenging to have those conversations that are inviting people into their potential, but only because it's not very familiar. We're not well practiced at it. And the job here really is, in this whole process, is to make sure that we're crystal clear on a few things, that we're crystal clear on the roles that we have in our organization, that we're crystal clear on the agreements that have been exchanged for compensation. And we're clear on the expectations that we have. And too many of us, myself included, these agreements that we have, these expectations that we have, they exist in our mind, they exist in our heads. They haven't been communicated. And if they still reside up here and they have not been shared, they're worthless. We can't expect people to be accountable to standards that they were never made aware of. We can't assume that they should know. We can't assume that they should read our mind. We can't assume that because those are the roles and responsibilities that have always been, and the people that are taking on those roles and responsibilities, that they should just know exactly what to do. Clear communication in this manner is essential, right? And it's our responsibility as leaders to ensure that everyone on the team understands and agrees to those expectations up front. Because if they don't agree to them, then we have a different conversation. And if they do agree to them, then we can have the conversation when those expectations are not being met. The truth is always the kindest, most loving thing, because it respects them and it respects you. And in this, I want to challenge you to be both courageous and consistent. Okay? Not courageous and consistent in wishing that people would take more accountability. Not courageous and consistent in hoping that they would stop blaming others for all the reasons why they can't do the very thing that you're expecting them to do. Wishing and hoping won't lead to change. The real courage lies in what you do when you have someone on your team who is failing to live up to the agreements that they've made. That instead of taking accountability, they would rather blame their limitations than meet their potential. And this is where the real crisis lies. For as long as we, as leaders, tolerate this behavior, we are not just allowing poor performance. We are actively building another human being who will live beneath their potential. You are teaching them that it's okay. We are teaching them that it's okay to avoid responsibility, to reject feedback and to shy away from accountability. And this, my friends, is not leadership. And I know this is hard. And I know this can seem very tough today, but it's a conversation that is needed. This conversation is way overdue. Because all we're doing when we allow people to play and to perform beneath the potential that is within them is enabling them. And to those of us, right, myself included, who want to shy away, back away, avoid difficult conversations, who kind of hesitate to address the underperformers on our team because it's uncomfortable, or because we're afraid of how they'll react, or because we don't want to be pigeoned the mean one because we care more about our likability than the potential of others. I get it. It's tough, right? And maybe for those of you that think, because I've had this thought, that it's easier to keep them around because filling the position is hard, or because having somebody in that role feels better than having nobody at all. I want this conversation to be a wake-up call. And to those of you that know other leaders that believe this to be true, that we're just keeping people around because it's easier to have a body than have nobody, I want you to share this podcast with them, right? I want you to share it with every human being on the planet that oversees and leads a team. Because what I know for sure is the people part of owning any business is the hardest part. It's the hardest part because we have to manage our mind around all of it. We have to manage our own likability. We have to manage having those quote unquote difficult conversations around it. So much so that I'm literally, because of this podcast, I'm creating a confident conversation field guide, truly blueprint on literally how to have a conversation with anyone on your team, anyone in your family, to elevate and call up the potential in others. That is how much I believe in this show. This is how much I believe in the conversation that we're having right now. I want to give you more tools. I wish I could say the tool is done. My team is working on it. So if you hear this podcast and you want it, shoot me an email. You know how to reach me. I will make sure that you're on the list to get it as soon as it's done, hopefully by the end of the week. Okay, so I digressed, but it's so important to have these conversations, because if we continue to people please, if we continue to make excuses for poor performance, to avoid those tough but very necessary conversations, we're not just failing the business, we're failing them. Our mission as leaders is to tap into our own potential so that we can help others tap into theirs. But that doesn't happen when we allow people to coast or when we allow people to settle. It happens when we challenge them to rise to the agreements that they made when they took the job. And maybe no one in their entire life has ever held them accountable. And there is a way to do it in love. There is a way to do it in compassion. There is a way to do it so that it allows you to be authentic, allows you to be the best version of you, because I promise you the best version of you is not settling for their mediocrity. It isn't. I promise you this is true. So today, we need to make the decision, okay? We need to make the decision that no longer are we going to tolerate less. Less from our teams, less from our families, our children, ourselves. No longer are you going to settle for pro quo, right? Because it feels easier, right? Today, you're going to make the decision that you're going to lead with clarity and conviction. Conviction for their potential. It's in there. It's up to us to find it. We're not going to find it if we label them as lazy. We're not going to find it if we label them as lacking work ethic. We're not going to find it if we label them as millennials. We're not going to find it looking at all of the ways that they couldn't possibly be held accountable. I want to offer up to you that the reason that they're not being held accountable is because we are failing them in order for them to do it. We're not being consistent enough about it. We're not being courageous enough about it. And in the event that they continue to not be agreeable to the expectations, to the agreements, then there's a different conversation. If we've never shared with them what we've expected of them, and therefore what they could agree upon, we get to re-enroll them. We get to re-enroll them into their potential, into the mission of the business. That's what we get to do. I want us to learn how to hold our teams responsible to the standards that they agreed to. And you will do this not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. It's necessary for your growth. It's necessary for their growth, and it's necessary for the success of the business. And if you commit to this level of leadership, you will not only change how you show up at work, but you will change how you show up in all aspects of your life. Because let me tell you something, where you are tolerating less in one area of your life, you are tolerating it in all areas. And if we're serious about leading others, we need to be serious about leading ourselves first. Leadership starts with us saying no more, truly. No more allowing mediocrity. No more making excuses for underperformance. No more tolerating behavior that doesn't align with the agreed upon expectations. We can't keep letting Mary stroll in late and leave early and call that compassionate leadership. That's not leadership. That's avoidance. We can no longer accept that certain boxes, by the way, that both sides agreed upon go unchecked. And let me be clear, this isn't about being harsh or over demanding. This is about holding people to their commitments, elevating the integrity that lies within each one of us, elevating the conversation, elevating the energy, elevating people's capability. We need to stop buying into the narrative that people aren't replaceable or that it will be too hard or costly to find someone new. No, 1,000% no. The real challenge is in continuing to tolerate unmet expectations. The real cost is in allowing someone to stay on the team that isn't pulling their weight, because that creates a culture where excellence is not the standard and where mediocrity becomes the norm, not the exception. It's not hard to replace someone who isn't delivering. It's not. It's hard to let them stay and to continue dragging down the standards of the business. And it's certainly not costly to replace them. It's far more costly to keep them. Every day we allow this behavior in our businesses, we're compromising our leadership and our team's potential. And I get it. Trust me, I get it, friends. There are industries that have talent shortages. I coach in those spaces, and I know it's tough, but that's precisely why it's more important now than ever to ensure that every single person on the team is holding up their end of the deal. When talent is scarce, the talent you do have must be fully aligned, fully accountable, and fully committed. Learning to stop tolerating poor performance is the greatest gift that you can give yourself as a leader. But here's the thing. We are not taught this. We're not. We're taught to be pleasing. We're taught to avoid confrontation. We're actually taught to tolerate and to accept. And worse, we're taught to believe that if things go wrong, that we're the problem. We're told that we're too demanding, right? We're too difficult. We're too micromanaging, right? That our expectations are too high. To that, I say no. Hell no. The only time you should ever feel like you're being too demanding is if you haven't been clear about the expectations from the start. If the roles, responsibilities, and agreements have not been communicated or mutually understood, then sure, there's room for misunderstanding. But if you have been clear, if the agreements are set and they're mutually understood, then it's time to stop accepting poor performance. It is. If we don't hold people accountable, right, then they are going to be shocked when all of a sudden, it seems, right, they become blindsided when we try to raise the bar. But here's the truth. Your business and your life deserves better. You deserve to be exceptional at leading, at setting clear expectations, and at holding people accountable. These are foundational leadership skills. And these are the skills that we teach in our 8-week accelerator. The very first lessons that we cover are really around this whole self-alignment and team alignment. We cover the alignment of the roles of teams, the metrics of the teams, and the agreements. We talk about the team audit. We talk about team design. And then we talk what we call a re-offer, which is essentially just resetting the agreements and the expectations. And it's critical that we have people on the team who deliver. Because this, my friends, is where true leadership begins. It begins with getting everyone on board with what is expected of them. Not because we're mean, not because we're ruthless, but rather the opposite. Because we're kind and we're compassionate and we see a potential in them that maybe sometimes they don't even see. Maybe no one has ever believed in them enough to challenge them, to hold them accountable for their own greatness. Maybe you will be the first person ever in their life that sees something in them that they never did. That is the gift of leadership. That is what I'm asking you to step into. Maybe they've never been given the chance to live up to the expectations that you're setting for them. But that changes right now. It changes right now when you just choose to decide no more. When you just choose to decide that you are no longer going to tolerate this because you believe in them. Not from a, no more am I going to tolerate this because they need to stop being lazy. No, that energy is not going to get it done. The energy that's going to get it done is for you to truly see a worthy, a beautiful, a whole, a complete, a highly potential human in the role that is of your business. That is when that shift is going to change. That is when you are going to become motivational. That is when you become inspirational. And that, my beautiful friends, is when you become aspirational. So if you are a leader who is frustrated by your team, right? If you are trying to align them with a mission, if you are trying to roll out roles and responsibilities and metrics and to re-enroll them into the agreements and you want some support and you want some help, I want to extend a special invitation to you, my listener, okay? Our 8-week accelerator is designed to help you build a team that is self-led and high-performing. It's going to be starting here at the end of October, and it will go through till right before Christmas. I want you to get your business set up for next year. So much so that we are pouring everything that we can into this 8-week, because we want you to be able to lead and build a team that is self-led and high-performing. So I want you in there if you struggle with your teams. If you know that 2025 and you believe that 2025 and the level of success that you're going to be able to have in that year is contingent on 2 things. 1, your ability to lead mission and to lead your teams and to align your teams to be the high performers that you know they can be. We're here to support you in that calling. We're here for you. So I want you to have a beautiful team. Make today be the day that you are no longer going to tolerate it. So 2 things. If you're interested in the Confident Conversations Guide, find me, email me. I'll get you on the list. I will get you that document. We need to start having empowering accountability conversations so that our humanity elevates. And 2, if you're interested in the 8-week accelerator, find us. We want to get you enrolled. Spots are truly limited because we're only allowing so many people because it's 8 weeks. It's intense. We want to give you as much time. We're going to pour into this accelerator. Okay, beautifuls. Have an amazing, amazing day, and we will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye. You have been listening to Shift Happens. Discover the Leader Within with Leah Rolling and Carrie Kenzie, where we help you reconnect with your inner leader. Learn to trust your instincts and live with authenticity and confidence.
Tune in every Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time to Shift Happens on Transformation Talk Radio for more insights, inspiration, and actionable strategies to live and lead, not only in purpose, but on purpose. It is time to embrace a life and leadership style that is true to you. For more information, visit shift.life.